Back for some more Black Myth Wukong. Not gonna lie, I'm not too enthused on this game right now. Kind of feels like a chore to play right now, but it's no excuse to give up. So we're gonna get to it. Let's get to it. Like I said just 3 seconds ago, let's get to it. Yeah, let's go. Says I'm 38% done with the game, 66% done with this chapter, but I feel as though that, like, to beat this boss is the boss of the chapter, you know. So we'll see. We'll see. I'm gonna listen to a documentary on Ian Miles Chonger in the meantime.
Gate was an online movement meant to address ethics in gaming journalism, or was a harassment campaign against women in gaming, depending on who you talk to. It was sparked by an affair between developer Zoe Quinn and 5 guys in the industry. It sought to address cronyism and a perceived lack of integrity, but it quickly devolved into a debate surrounding sexism and identity politics. That, alongside claims of harassment,
like everything does.
Beyond launching the careers of many online figures. This is where we return to Ian, who was subject to much of their criticism. Ian was immediately dismissive, going on record to state, "Ethics in game journalism? It's fucking game journalism. Who gives a flying f***? Hey Gamergate, go f*** yourselves." He wrote 8 articles about the subject, portraying it as a harassment campaign. The Gamergate movement was founded upon the harassment of independent game developer Zoe Quinn, and is responsible for the harassment of several other game developers, media critics such as Anita Sarkeesian, and their supporters in the game industry. In response, Gamergate dug into his past and found the racist old chat logs. They were further circulated in an article by controversial streamer Ethan Rao. This made Ian apologize only to blame a toxic gaming culture. So I need to talk about it. I'm sure some of you who've seen my interactions with the GG can attest to the toxicity of the issue. I said some dumb bullshit while young.
Alright, we're just warming up.
I apologize for those things in the past. And we continue to work and advocate against the specific amount of racism and anti-Semitism in gaming. They came to a yeah. Ian later said he wasn't and clarified he was 16 at the time. This fell on deaf ears and the contraction to call him a big deal. One such comment from Kotaku Naturally, a pro-Gamergate subreddit, reads, Ian Miles Chong, a known anti-Semite among other things, is still in a position of power among anti-Gamergate. It seems one side values its credibility.
It was pro-Gamergate.
In response, a now deleted user defended Ian. Can we keep character defamation out of this sub? It makes us look as bad as the other side. Since when is truth a defamation? Oh, come on, we're better than this. This account, as it turns out, belonged to Ian himself, which was proven in a leaked IRC for Reddit mods. It also revealed that Ian continued to spam his own links years after being caught. In October of 2014, Ian called out Kotaku in Action's mod 28 dams later. He accused the man of having a second account where he bragged about assaulting women. So Gamergate has an actual rapist in its midst, leading the pack in a movement that claims not to be about misogyny. No, you misread. He actually claims to have committed rape. He backtracked on this within an hour, clarifying it was believed and impossible to prove. A Reddit admin with access to the IP logs is the only one capable of proving it. To make it clear, there was no evidence. Yet he was willing to levy the accusations baselessly. In the end, his character attack achieved its goal as Dan was removed as a moderator. The same couldn't be said for his campaign against Ryan Coons, the developer of HoneyPop. HoneyPop is an adult hybrid puzzle dating sim released in early 2015. It was funded on Kickstarter, where it earned over $50,000. The game received backlash from those who felt it was a creepy game for incels. Ryan mocked them, calling them SJWs, and refused to censor his project. This earned respect from Gamergaters, who made it known with their wallets. Its launch was so successful, HoneyPop reached number 7 on Steam's bestseller list. The success enraged Ian, who tweeted incessantly, "Apparently the makers of HoneyPop think that there's an SJW conspiracy against their game. He's pandering hard to Gamergate. It's depressing, I know. Maybe this will encourage other devs to court GG. You know what? I don't give a shit. You'll please out yourself as a piece of trash." The tirade culminated in an article for Gamergate where he tried to get HoneyPop banned. His argument centered around an official patch that added nudity back into the game. Ian alleged it violated Steam's terms of service and reached out to Valve to comment. "Violating Steam's terms of service is so ethical, you guys." This campaign was short-lived though, as HoneyPop was cleared the next day, a victory that was thrown in his face. If you want to spend your money on HoneyPop, that's your right, your business. Strangely, it was after this that Ian seemed to have a change of heart. You see, he began to adopt more neutral stances that didn't align with his previous views. For example, criticizing Polygon and taking points off from the content. It caught the attention of Kotaku in Action, who remarked on his sudden turn. "I am confused with his change, as he has steadily been making sense for almost 2 months now. Did he see the old guard falling? Did he decide to stand on his own opinions? I have no clue." But many weren't buying it. He's a bandwagoner. He goes whichever way seems to grant him more power. Rats fleeing a sinking ship that is SJW gaming journalism. That sentiment changed once Ian released a formal apology to Gamergate on May 26, 2015, apologizing for broadly misrepresenting gamers and demonizing them for the crime of liking video games. "I joined the choir of dehumanizing voices, attacking my fellow gamers. I was completely intolerant. I was being an ass. I had lost my way. I had no right to dehumanize nor attack gamers as a whole." He also distanced himself from the social justice movement. "I don't believe there's anything wrong with social justice as an idea, but as a movement, it's a different story. Despite having ideals, it's easy to get lost in the mire of insults and dehumanizing attacks when engaged in a heated battle over social media. This is my sin. I contributed to an atmosphere of intolerance and aggression. It may seem hypocritical for me to rail against outrage in recent tweets. I sought something to oppose. And yet I find myself asking now how these issues even matter when it causes hurt to others. I am sorry if I've ever hurt you." At the time, the apology felt earnest, which is reflected in its response. They welcomed Ian with open arms as he began covering the subreddit Osmogoth. "I took a trust but verify position on Sean when he first posted his general apology. Credit where credit is due. He's been behaving like a principled adult since then. Good for him." Before long, he was criticizing feminist and calling Kotaku everything wrong with game journalism. Game journalism is a dying scene because most gamers don't trust agenda-driven bloggers who are more interested in whining and politics. His once detractors were now loyal fans who celebrated his heel turn. Eventually, Ian was writing for Heat Streets, The Sun, and other news outlets run by the same people that own Fox News. This is about when his coverage started to veer from gaming. The last notable run-in he had with his former clique was with the Con Chapters. In short, Crash Override Network was an anti-harassment organization started by Alex Lifshitz and Zoe Quinn. They partnered with Feminist Frequency, who served as its official sponsor. In August of 2017, over 850,000 lines were leaked from their Skype groups. It proved many of Gamergate's targets were colluded, at least to some degree. That included Ian Miles Chong, who donated and worked with Zoe Quinn. GameLinks later added disclosures to address the issue. Coverage of Gamergate at this point in time was not done in good faith. Ian Miles Chong was a member of Crash Override at the time. Ian owned up to his involvements, and more importantly verified they were real. He even wrote an article on the subject for Heat Street. Beyond doxing and expecting the mob to publicly shame outed individuals, the group went a step further and discussed contacting employers to get them fired. This included silencing a member of the Armed Forces and Purple Heart recipient for his views supporting Gamergate by contacting a superior officer. There was no shortage of threats to sue anyone who supported Gamergate into financial oblivion.
Damn it!
There was no turning back. Ian burnt all the bridges that remained with his peers. But this proved beneficial in the long run. He started writing about skeptic YouTubers and Pepe the Frog. The latter was in defense against claims that the meme was anti-Semitic. No, Hillary, Pepe the Frog is not a racist meme.
Pepe the Frog.
Publication later issued an apology. This article was wrong, and we should never have published it.
That
Pepe
is
the Frog
freaking hilarious, dude.
They retracted his article.
I've never heard so
shown
much
him
content
the evidence.
packed
Ian
into one
reiterated this
sentence.
on Twitter, where people called him a sellout. I was right about Still Gray. He didn't have a change of heart about Gamergate, he just follows the money. But this was a minor setback in the grand scheme of things, as he took advantage of the 2016 presidential election. The turning point was his coverage of Antifa and recent protests across college campuses. This was the golden age of being an anti-SJW on the internet, and he was popular enough to land himself an interview on national TV with Tucker Carlson.
So, like, how real is this?
100% real. You know, we've seen this with at the demonstrations against Milo Yiannopoulos at UC Berkeley, and we've seen it more recently in Evergreen. We've seen it at Scandal. We've seen it in a variety of places across the United States, you know, Baltimore, Mississippi, everywhere.
In June of 2017, Ian began writing for the Column, a right-wing news site founded by Tucker Carlson and Neil Patel. He contributed 320 articles over the next year. They covered subjects like BuzzFeed, identity politics, and feminism. That included male feminists, for which he declared the witch hunters have become the witches hunted. Male feminists, these self-proclaimed paragons of sexual virtue, wear a skin that deceives women into thinking that they're safe. They say, I respect women. I'm one of the good guys. You can trust me not to take advantage of me. In doing so, they have been able to worm themselves into feminist safe spaces. These men believe what they say, but it's only because they think all other men are sexually predatory. They act superior to other men because they believe that they're the only ones capable of keeping their nature in check. The irony wasn't lost on those that have followed his career. There was no consistency as Ian doubled down on being an ideologue. He stood against witch hunts until the accusations were convenient. He criticized art of people punching Nazis, while his banner showed Donald Trump, Jordan Peterson, and Milo Yiannopoulos beating up feminists with the help of Ugandan knuckles. There were endless examples of this, as he always seemed to contradict himself. Any supposed principles fell to the wayside as he constantly shared misinformation. One example relates to the Charlottesville car attack. On August 12, 2017, white supremacist James Alex Fields Jr. drove his car into a crowd at the Unite the Right rally. The attack injured 35 people and killed a 32-year-old Heather Hare. Within hours, Ian tweeted out, "What if I told you that 4chan's poll has mobilized to find out who the driver of the Charlottesville car is? And it isn't who you think it is." The answer was never given, as they apparently changed their mind. Poll is now saying it might be some guy who might be alt-right now. Ha, who knows with anything anymore? Just wait for the police. Bear in mind, Ian mocked journalists for getting tricked by 4chan in the past. The internet provocateur was often called out for rage baiting and using articles he hadn't looked at. He once tweeted out a headline that read, "Army teachers would endanger students of color." He misrepresented this before claiming it was conjecture based on hysteria when corrected. When faced with the author's citations, he claimed they were decades old and cherry-picked. In another breath, he tweeted out, "Intellectual, empathetic, pick one." It was part of a thread where he claimed the transatlantic slave trade didn't occur until the 18th century, which is simply false. Many critics would claim if something didn't fit Ian's narrative, he'd baselessly question its authenticity. When a 22-year-old immigrant scaled a building to save a 4-year-old, he called it staged. How does a toddler have the body strength to hold like that anyway? There was no end to this, prioritizing outrage above all else. On March 14, 2018, beloved scientist Stephen Hawking passed away. Ian used this to rant about claims of misogyny. The feminist outrage crew just learned of Stephen Hawking's death, and their response is nothing short of predictable. The only problem is he included tweets made long before Hawking died. It was a cycle in which he'd exaggerate or flat-out vent outrage to farming agents. This was covered extensively in regards to the indie game Cuphead. Ian was the first to share journalist Dean Takahashi's notoriously bad gameplay. He used its virality to fearmonger. His subsequent claims were covered in a video by creator Sean, which received 800,000 views.
I don't know how it's possible to rely on the recommendations of game journalists when they don't even have basic reflexes needed to play. It explains why they're all enamored with walking simulators. So that's quite the extrapolation there. Dean Takahashi, the singular person being bad at Cuphead for a bit at a games expo, is now all games journalists being terrible at all games.
I mean,
all the
games
time.
journalists
All
are
this
generally
Takahashi's preview of the game
pretty bad at
and the
video
later
games, and I say
actual
this
review
as
on
someone
the
that's
site,
not very
both
good at this
praising
game
Cuphead's difficulty.
so far.
At a certain point, Ian's views were incomprehensible. He denied global warming and argued climate change was a hoax by neo-Marxists. The specifics didn't matter as he argued with figures like Chelsea Manning. The few non-political friendships he had left dissipated, as seen in this exchange with artist Shen Thomas. They had interacted in the past, but the baggage became too much for Shen to ignore. Ian, no offense, but whenever you retweet me, I get the worst kind of red pill type fuckboys in my mentions. If you want to support me, that's cool, but I hope that means you're willing to listen to me and reevaluate some things about your worldview as you've done once before. During this era, Mr. Chong was labeled a Nazi, alt-right, and eventually got PewDiePie in trouble for following him. His defense of the YouTuber is probably the greatest contribution he has ever made online. After the creator got in trouble for saying the N-word, Ian defended him by calling it a heated gamer moment. The phrase has become a timeless meme that most people...
That's what I'm gonna call whenever I say that word inappropriately from here on out.
Left-wing accounts. They highlighted his criticisms but found humor beyond his rhetoric. For example, bizarre tweets that show he dealt with a constant ant infestation. My bed is full of dead and half-dead ants. You know, I actually laid down in bed earlier with the ants. The lights were off. My feet are covered in bites right now. You have never seen horror until you see ants streaming out of your people. My bed were filled with ants once, and I had no idea until I milled a bunch of it into a... My bacon sprinkles were filled with ants once, and I had no idea until I milled a bunch of it into the soup I was having. They gave him the nickname Ant-Man, which made him so upset he seemingly quote-tweeted anyone that brought it up. Ian later tried to deflect by claiming it was racist against Asians. For a once self-described turbo-feminist, Ian had rather questionable takes. He stood against the feminist cults and claimed women welded sex like a scepter. In response to an article accusing a male feminist of SA, Ian replied, "Feminists will accuse you of rape. Male feminists will rape you. Both deserve each other." He was also proudly against unions because of feminism. This naturally led many to start calling him an incel. Ian denied this, though his own employer disagreed. Indianapolis' site Dangerous. His articles were published under the section Incel Corner. The result was an onslaught of memes comparing him to other famous incels. He defended himself by publicly announcing he had a girlfriend. "So hey, I have a girlfriend. Sure showed you pictures Helldivers who keep bringing up incel therapy. Fuck you, Milo, for clearly the weak section that. This did little to quell the mockery, as Ian and his girlfriend were in a long-distance open relationship. He even continued to defend Milo after a surface clip showed him advocating for relationships between men and underage boys. Ian replied, "You have no idea what it's like to be gay or what it's like to grow up as a gay teenager in shoes. So maybe don't talk about it and act as if you're some kind of authority on homosexuality." His disregard for truth would ultimately be his downfall at the Daily Caller. In 2018, a lone gunman shot up a Madden tournament in Jacksonville, Florida. Ian claimed the shooter was a member of the anti-Trump resistance, citing a Reddit account named Raven Champs. This was flatly debunked when the user left a comment confirming they were free and alive. Ian refused to accept this, inventing a conspiracy theory. So this account just became mysteriously active again after almost 2 weeks of inactivity, following 4 years of constant activity, to debunk claims that it belonged to the shooter? There's no way to prove that it does or doesn't belong to the shooter. But Resistance Twitter is running wild in celebration that a mass shooter wasn't one of them. He then claimed that it didn't matter, downplayed the actions, and gave an insincere apology. The infraction was severe enough that Ian was ultimately fired. The editor-in-chief just told me Ian Miles Chong is now not affiliated with Daily Caller at all, and that he's just a random. He removed the site from his Twitter bio shortly thereafter. You may think Ian's mainstream relevance ended there, but far from it. His peak actually came several years later. But it would have to wait as Ian found himself embroiled in backlash from an entirely different sphere. Following Gamergate, many of the anti-SJW channels continued to upload videos. They became known as the Skeptics as they broadened to other subjects. It was only a matter of time before these arguments turned into live debates, usually on crude Google Meets with faceless avatars. In late 2017, many of these creators took interest in live streaming. They argued over a variety of controversial topics in what became known as internet blood sports. As you can probably guess, the appeal came more in the drama than the actual issues at hand. Many of those involved already disliked Ian, such as Mr. Medicine, also known as Jen.
I want to hear this. The last time I was on stream with Ian was when he went on with Destiny and basically tried to talk to Destiny, and then Destiny's like, you're a fucking moron. You wrote an article and you don't even know what the fuck you're talking about. You can't even remember the shit you wrote in your own article. And everything he brought up was wrong.
You know, Ian? Is it Ian or Ian?
Ian, it's Ian, yeah.
Ian, yeah. I mean, he did kind of blow you the fuck out there on your article.
I know.
Like you have to admit that. I mean, that was
I do admit that, yeah.
But others were willing to give him a second chance. It was in this community he befriended Andy Worski, host of Worski Live. In late
we know where this is
2018,
going.
They created a channel together called Hype Break. It was meant to cover game news and reviews. They managed to reach 20,000 subscribers.
Back to the monkey, Mikey.
Months. In spite of this, the project was short-lived as Ian outed himself.
I feel like there's an alliteration,
as a
Mikey
liar.
Monkey.
The first red flag came in March of 2018 with the video titled Ian Miles Chong sent me someone's docs. It was posted by a leftist YouTuber named David Sheriff. David alleged that Ian tried to give him info on a right-winger he didn't like, claiming to have obtained the subject's full name, places of employment, and resume through a private investigator.
Ian said he gathered this information with the help of private investigators, and then said, quote, "The only way to get to him is through his family." Now, remember the shady stuff he accused me of that I alluded to?
Not a good
But one
say.
of those things included being part of a document. I don't know what he expected me to do with this information, but there's clearly a reason he approached me with this as opposed to someone he was on good terms with.
Ian responded by claiming he was simply trying to see what the internet personality would do with it, and David betrayed his trust. He then made it out like a 4D chess move. Getting David and his leftist followers to stand for neo-Nazis is the greatest trick the devil ever pulled. What have I done? The excuse, while laughable in hindsight, was plausible just enough that some took him at his word. But tensions continued to rise within the sector. On October 20th, Ian was confronted on the kill stream by Wild Goose, the person he tried to dox.
So I was like, BWC controlled every game journalist, every single one. That was my understanding. That's what they did, because every single game journalist got doxxed during gameplay, right? They associate him with these acts that BWC is not a large group, and Goose is very active in it.
Ian claims he targeted Goose because he was part of the group that trolled journalists during Gamergate. The information was obtained with the help of a user named Mombot on Twitter. They can be seen discussing Goose's family, who were unaware of his activities.
I was misled, clearly misled, and the idea was that you were this guy, right? And that the only threat to you was not to go expose your dad. So the idea here was that we tell your dad about what you're doing. We tell your dad about what you're doing because he's a certain somebody, right?
You know, like, how old I am?
No, dude, I have no idea.
And I'm about 30.
Okay.
So, like, I don't live with my parents. I don't care what my parents do.
Goose claims Ian swatted his father's home, and during the raid, the police threw a flashbang which heavily injured the man's jaw. Ian laughs about this, which he later claimed was sarcastic.
Not only did I have to resign from my job, but several sheriff deputies showed up to my father's house and threw a flashbang with my dad's dog in. So you blew up a yellow Labrador Retriever because of mistaken identity. So, and I know that's food in that country and all, but
Yeah, I know. Totally didn't deserve to get flashbanged and all that. Totally apologize for that. Oh, send him my regards. Yeah, but yeah, no, seriously though, that was a fuck up.
Now you're laughing? You think that's funny?
No, absolutely not.
Ian was piled on by everyone on the stream, which led him to disavow internet blood sports. And he tried to distance himself and quietly made plans to sell Hypebreak. He was about to sign a contract that gave Ian sole ownership of the channel. That all changed though on July 24th, 2019, when Andy found out Ian was leaking his personal information to detractors. He discovered this live on air, but wasn't fast enough as Ian was able to lock him out of the account.
Oh, wow.
Ian Miles Chong stole the channel Hypebreak that was half his and half mine, right down the middle. And why did he steal the channel? Well, because a few days ago, I discovered on the live stream that he was talking to and giving information to people who were actively trying to ruin my life. He has changed all the passwords, all the two-step authorizations I have. And the funny thing is, when I was working with him, he told me that we would need to use both our authorization passwords to change the passwords. Meaning that he lied to me and was able to change the password with just his authorization password.
Ian called Andy a delusional cokehead and pointed out his leading sets. Earlier today, he threatened to sue him. He deleted the tweet upon realizing what a creep he was for never having signed any agreements. It was in response to Andy teasing a video which came out on January 26th. He explains their history at length, with insight to Ian's departure from GameRanks.
But, you know, GameRanks started with them and got fired for obvious reasons. But here's something GameRanks might not know. GameRanks, you do know he's still a manager on your channel and has shown us your analytics, has shown everyone your analytics. And last about it, don't guess, you're making around $65,000 a month.
Andy was awoken by police 6 hours later. I just got interrogated by 2 detectives who came into my house saying they got a call that I was gonna shoot people. Funny how all the info they had on the caller matched what Ian had on it. Andy uploaded a second video, this time alleging that Ian tried to silence him.
Hey, Ian Miles, son. You say you lay off the coke? Well, I'm not on coke because I just had 2 police officers, 2 detectives interrogate me and search my house. I allowed them to search my house. They didn't find anything.
Ian denied this and claims that they were best friends. We were business partners. We were best friends. We had plans. He let everything fall through and let me play the channel all by myself. I carried the slack. After this, several of Andy's thumbnails were changed to inappropriate images.
Take
it was
that!
retaliation as a quiet attempt to get us banned. Thank you for all the warnings. My agent stayed up while I was still sleeping fighting gay porn predators. Ian was still a manager on the channel.
God darn it!
Saw the changes come from Malaysia. The entire community began discussing the controversy. But strangely, videos about the subject got flagged down. This got the attention of Keemstar, who invited them onto Drama. Ian declined. But then on February 1st, Ian posted a leaked audio where Ian admits to swatting.
The guy was saying that he's going to make a video on me. That really actually set me off. I did not need to see that. I'm more than happy to just let him leave me alone. But he forced my hand, so I called the police. I actually called the police on him. I know what he does. I know he has illegal firearms. I know that he is deeply entrenched in the alt-right. I know that he has a lot of cocaine in his house. Yeah,
It's the worst move,
I
dude.
talked to him on the phone. So, who knows? Maybe they'll pay him a visit very soon.
This was followed by a second clip, which implies it was an attempted murder.
Hopefully soon, the Mississauga police will be paying him a nice little visit. I told them that he was armed and dangerous, because he is. He's got guns, and that he's prone to bouts of schizophrenia and bouts of violence. So, I'm in for a treat.
The camera just started goofing over there. This is just not a well-designed fight, in my opinion.
Wasn't really much to say. He deleted 622 tweets before yet again calling Andy a cokehead who was making stuff up for drama. He then tried to bait sympathy by claiming to receive death threats. He couldn't keep his story straight, as he often slip up and admit to certain details. The entire scandal was covered in a video by Mr. Medicare titled Ethical Ian.
That was audio from Ian Miles Chong, formerly self-described turbo-feminist and video game journalist, talking about having the police called on a man who made a mean YouTube video on him. If that sounds as fucking insane to you as it does with anyone with a functional fucking brain, then prepare to be amazed.
Ian went quiet for a few days before returning with his own coverage. Internet blood sports, the pay-to-play troll army terrorizing the internet. Ian admits to reporting Andy for illegal activities, but claims to regret it. The experience caused him to sink into depression. I suffer from mere suicidal thoughts. Not enough to harm myself, but enough to isolate on the prospect of simply disappearing. It may come from a place of selfishness, as I am forced to ruminate upon all I have lost. This was received poorly. Even Kotaku in Action, who stood by him until this event. The entire subreddit went on to revolt over the mod's promotion of Ian, calling him a psychopath. Ian Miles Chong tried to get Andy Moore's ego. If you listen to the second audio leak, this was literally his stated goal. This subreddit has promoted Ian Miles Chong so heavily that this situation makes every person involved in KIA look extremely stupid. The mods, the Redditors, everyone. Ian laid low for a period of time before returning to Twitter in full force. In May of 2019, he joined Human Events, a conservative news and analysis website. He wrote an article about the real history of games, which ends with him saying, comment, I helped to lead the narrative. Now I'm here to set things straight. That was while writing reviews that spoke of nothing other than identity politics. Ian also started fighting with right-wingers again, most notably Nick Fuentes and Scott Greer. He called Nick an incel before bragging about his own weight loss. This happened over and over again. He flagged anyone that brought up the Worski affair. It's clear that after everything, Ian was unshaken.
Are you talking about, well, damn, for the Ian Miles Chong thing?
He continued using the brand, hiring a Twitter user named Smug Luco to write for him. Smug got in hot water after trying to cancel the lead dev of United Woods. Her screenshots were of a random person on Discord.
I know this is
Woods. It was dead on arrival as Smug later vented about Ian being a negligent boss. I'm just stressed having to manage this entire operation almost by myself. My boss hasn't made a single video since July, and as a result, my pay is almost non-existent. It has been months since my last piece was made public in a video. The reason he wasn't uploading videos is because he was trying to sell merch. He sold t-shirts referencing the Second Amendment, despite not being American. Every Democrat and neocon wants to disarm you with mandatory gun buybacks and make your right to defend yourself against state brutality a crime. To hell with that. I got annoyed, so I designed a shirt supporting the Second Amendment. At this point, Mr. Chong fully pivoted into U.S. politics. He constantly spoke on American issues, scoring viral tweet after viral tweet. He blended in perfectly, and it wasn't long until his post reached important eyes. On December 21st, 2019, Ian was retweeted by South Carolina Governor and U.S. Ambassador Nikki Haley, who heard every reply that pointed out he was a Malaysian national interfering with U.S. politics. It was a great picture, but paled in comparison to his biggest score yet. Whether sincere or not, Ian was a vocal supporter of President Donald Trump, standing by him on nearly every issue. That included his stance against violent video games, believing it was linked to mass shootings. Ian justified this by blaming other journalists. I honestly can't blame Donald Trump for taking a critical view of video game violence, especially when much of the mainstream media and the gaming press itself has been perpetuating the exact same message for years. This continued further in tweets naming Polygon and Easy. It was transparently ridiculous, getting backlash from his own audience. I think Trump's statement is hot garbage. I think video games don't cause shootings, and it's a false red herring and a stupid thing to spend time fear-mongering about. Where were you when Sarkeesian was making her claims about Doom and Fallout 4? Playing Doom and Fallout 4. As you can guess, Ian didn't back down, only becoming more outspoken in defense of Trump. This ramped up into the 2020 election, which is when it finally paid off. Pelosi's tantrum is trending. You hate to see it. This wasn't a one-time occurrence either. It happened several times with Trump even quote-tweeting Ian directly. The internet provocateurs' coverage of groups like Antifa was useful against opposition. He became a staple of MAGA Twitter, and his account skyrocketed. Ian started that year with 100,000 followers and ended it with 300,000. He started tweeting things like, "Donald Trump is my president," and "America has a communist problem. 2 out of 3 young Americans want to destroy America. The nation is lost." The latter was central to his fear-mongering as he advocated for fascism. It's okay to be fascist, but the alternative is complete lawlessness and violence. Even with MAGA support, he'd catch flack for optical oversights, like mocking a 75-year-old man that was put to the ground by police. Don't trip over your feet. I deleted the original post with the video because my words were unnecessarily callous. Thanks for bringing me back down to earth, guys. With more eyes than ever before, you'd think that now we've learned from these mistakes. But that simply wasn't the case. On May 30th, 2020, Ian shared a video of protesters beating up a man that held a machete. A mob of rioters just murdered a man in cold blood in Dallas. He was defending his soul.
I did not mean to do that.
None of
Thank God it didn't work out.
Evidence from police, witnesses,
more magic
and
than I
video
wanted.
footage showed the armed man charged at the protesters, not the other way around. He was not dead and in stable condition in the hospital. Ian backtracked, later claiming he was now a veteran, but that didn't stop him from then sharing Ian's narrative to the entire nation.
Innocent people have been savagely beaten, like the young man in Dallas, Texas, who was left dying on the street.
On September 15th, Ian falsely accused a man of murder. He claimed a 33-year-old named Darnell Hicks was the #1 suspect in a shooting.
They were born in a cold, dark skull, or they were raised in private light to be sword in hands, not that they were cultivated to be the most something, 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 something.
Was contradicted within
like
an
Bane
hour
from
by
Batman.
the LA County Sheriff's Department.
Also killed
There is a
6
social
untouchables, which
media
are
post that is
untouchable
being
and
circulated,
immortal
which
without a
identifies a
parry.
male out of the Los Angeles area as
This
the
is 9
suspect
out of 10
responsible
times
for
he
the
died.
ambush. This is erroneous
That sounds
information,
miserable.
and there are no
I would not want to
named
fight
or
those
wanted
people.
Suspects at this time.
Well, this is
Even
miserable
after
too,
being
this boss
debunked,
over here,
Ian
but
didn't
I'm
stop.
starting to get the groove.
LA County Sheriff's Office may be disputing the contents of this tweet. However, more details of Hicks have gone viral on Facebook. I'll post further confirmation or details as I get
what
them.
takes you an hour
Officially,
probably takes
no
me 4,
suspects
Mikey.
have been named at this time. The accusation
I'm a parry guy, but like Elden Ring isn't like parry oriented, so I don't blame you for that.
Real-life harassment as a result. He spoke about this in an interview which showed Ian's tweets on screen.
After being wrongfully accused on social media of ambushing 2 LA County Sheriff's deputies Saturday, attorney Brian Dunn with the Cochran firm.
He has no connection whatsoever. Any person would suffer great being falsely accused of a crime, especially a crime of hate.
He started getting death threats.
You know, I have 2 daughters, and I don't really feel safe taking them out no more anymore.
He simply has been thrown into this pit for nothing other than the color of his skin.
Though Ian outlasted irrelevance, he he was still reminded of his past every so often. In one tweet, he called someone an imbecile for bringing their dog to a riot. It's not taking well to the flashbangs. He's shown the irony. He denied the swatting ever happened.
This ain't the one, but
the claim was
still
bipartisan.
doing it.
Both Antifa and some neo-Nazi trolls love to claim I called in a SWAT team to flash the dog. Never happened. Nothing angers me more than animal abuse.
Yeah, I know. Totally didn't deserve to get flashbanged and all that. Totally apologize for that.
That December, Ian fell victim to a prank call from Not Even a Show, who questioned him on his past.
Hello?
Hi, Ian. It's Richard with Gamer Shame. How are you?
With what? Gamer what?
Shame. We're just doing a poll on the worst controversies in gaming and so on. We're curious what you're most proud of. Is it the pro Hitler post?
Oh, you're trolling me. Oh, okay. Yeah.
Ian continued to support Trump until January 6th, the day that the infamous United States Capitol riot happened. For many, it was a point of no return, as supporters either doubled down or turned away from the movement. That included Ian, who called the riot white nationalists that made conservatives look bad. If people insist on owning what happened in the Capitol, despite the fact that white nationalist extremists were the ones responsible, then don't be shocked at your face when you get lumped in with the criminals. I only ever tried to help poor unfree themselves. The day before Biden's inauguration, Ian disavowed Trump completely. For 4 years, Trump managed to drive every conservative through the mud as they supported him and made excuses for all the times he told lies and said dumb, often inexcusable shit. He's paid everyone back by pardoning a couple of rappers and a bunch of corrupt Democrats. Lying about the size of the tiny crowd at his inauguration should have been the first indicator. His conviction is rather dubious for obvious reasons. He called anyone who supported his 2024 campaign delusional or grifted, which given his current activities seems to have changed. Many of his followers were loyal to Trump, resulting in a loss of over 70,000 followers within a month. Ian continued tweeting about U.S. politics, rebranding Hypebreak into a channel called Ketchup. He appeared on camera to comment on viral videos and news. In one clip, he praised Elon Musk for his recent acquisition of Twitter.
Elon Musk, let's talk about it for a moment. He's been successful in his bid to take over Twitter. You know, the world's richest man struck a deal with the company's board of directors a couple of weeks ago, acquired the platform in its entirety for $44 billion. It's not chump change. The question is, what does he do now? Elon Musk first expresses an attempt to bring about change in the social media platform after asking his massive audience of 85 million people what they felt about Twitter's adherence
I do this
to free
quest
speech
how
principles.
I want, then I get the stuff I want, but lose summons for
removing
Mesmer.
a source of income. Trump's Twitter was banned, which may have influenced his pivot. And
Well, I
Elon
mean,
was in the process of adding revenue.
I think you're
sharing
thinking
for
ahead,
creators.
which means
Ian
that
had
you
praised
shouldn't do it the
richest
way
man
that
in
you
the
want,
world
and
for
you should
years.
get those
But after
summons.
this, turned himself into a
I hear that
reply
Mesmer
bot.
is
It was once again
a,
successful, quickly getting the billionaire's attention. Before long, Ian followed him, offering praise directly and replying every few days. It's time to stop appeasing the activists because they will stop at nothing to hurt Twitter regardless of what you do. You're right. They stood together on everything, from the ADL to the quarantines. Elon refused to play Grand Theft Auto 5 because it made you shoot cops. Ian agreed. I'm glad shooting cops in Cyberpunk is completely opposite. Never finished GTA 5 means mirroring the billionaire's views on literally everything paid off, especially once creator earnings were implemented. In 2023, Ian revealed he was making over $10,000 a month from his tweets. That was also while being one of the top 5 most often corrected by the site's community notes. His account now sits at over 900,000 followers. This newfound fortune caught ire from those who have been following the devious journalist for years. On May 4th, 2023, the Quartering uploaded a video calling him out.
But there's one individual that continues to ingratiate themselves with powerful people. In this particular case, Elon Musk.
Jeremy had dealt with Ian in the past, firing him from his site exclusively games. He reveals that Ian used this position to pay a woman named Ren. Ren was the very e-girl Ian claimed was his girlfriend back in
While he was as an editor, he lied to my face and said that he needed help editing all of these articles that we were bringing in. So he hired someone called Ren, allegedly. Well, it turns out, from what I've gathered, this Ren individual was an e-girl and trying to buy an iPhone or something like that. He was sending money to an e-girl who had no idea.
Oh
that she
boy,
was
Ian
working
Miles
on the
Chong.
website, okay. When I confronted him over it, he had a mental breakdown, a bawling breakdown on Skype for stealing not my money, but your money that people had backed the project.
Jeremy also discussed Ian's backstory from internet blood sports all the way back to Gamergate.
Eventually, when he realized there was more money on pro gamer side, he made his metamorphoses to this sort of right-wing anti-cancel culture guy. But he has no idea what cancel culture is actually like. He sits over in Malaysia, tweeting from his parents' basement, literally. Well, in my mind anyway.
While Ian was still successful, he had little to no allies as both sides contested him. Even those unaware of his past grew upset over his constant theft of videos and information. It became such an issue that one site blacklisted the entire country of Malaysia to stop him. That's it, I'm IP blocking Malaysia. Sorry Malaysians who aren't Ian, he left me no choice. He then tried to make good with Redux, but it was too late. With the public at large sick of his behavior, the consequence was felt a few days later with a massive thread by user Censored Man. It elaborates on his past at length with a plethora of receipts. The author points out that he was a Malaysian obsessed with the West with no stake in the outcome. Ian gave up on gaming journalism after he lost all credibility due to being caught red-handed in the Andy Worski situation. He then turned to political journalism and decided to focus on Western issues that don't concern him. He did this due to it being the easiest way to build an audience and it being very profitable. Ian resides in Malaysia and posts divisive content about Western nations. Not because he cares, literally none of it matters to him, but because it's profitable. This thread received over 37,000 likes and 10 million views. It was successful in contextualizing his convoluted history while demonstrating willful malice. It also made the fact he wasn't an American citizen common knowledge, which he kept hidden for many years. This proved to have even more serious consequences as his own country took notice. You see, Malaysia is a conservative Muslim nation. They've never had diplomatic ties with Israel and don't recognize it as a country. In fact, the Malaysian government has jailed people for merely suggesting opening up a diplomatic ties with Israel. That would be a serious issue for Ian, who is vocally pro-Israel. Palestinians should stop building homes illegally on land we don't own. This caused an uproar in Malay social media who demanded punishment. The following article was written by the outlet New Straits Times. Meanwhile, Malaysian netizens have called for Communications Minister Fahmi Fadzil to take action against Chong for his actions, particularly on his commentary on Palestinian-Israeli issues. However, counterterrorism and extremism expert Manira Mustafa suggested that legal obstacles may hinder any actions against Chong. For the record, Malaysians can be charged for sedition under the Seditions Act for expressing views that could potentially sow discord among communities in the country. It's no coincidence Ian tweeted this out the same day. I actually love my country. The food is great, it's peaceful, and it's a strong conservative nation. The article spread across Twitter like wildfire. As Ian Miles Chong started trending, many took it as confirmation he was going to be executed. With the near universal celebration, they called for his arrest and for him to face capital punishment. It might be all over for Ian Miles Chong. One of the biggest media sites in Malaysia is now publishing calls to charge him with sedition. I pray Elon Musk will chopper him out. I pray Elon Musk will chopper him out of Kuala Lumpur before it's too late. Twitter was flooded with memes about his fate, as rumors began to circulate. They suggested different methods and fake announcements of his death. These tweets garnered upwards of 80,000 likes. This was so widespread that it was covered in Time magazine. In the end though, an actual confirmation never arrived as Ian returned to dispel the rumors. In this return, he compared himself to Mark Twain, before blaming it on far-left transgender activists. It seems he was once again able to talk himself out of trouble. His explanation can be found in a follow-up by New Straits Times. Ian Miles Chong has clarified that he does not advocate surgery, despite claims circulating on social media. Chong said that he has consistently voiced support for peace between both groups and backed Palestine's right to exist on various platforms. I was expressing my horror at the events that unfolded on October 7, 2023, along with the rest of the world when footage was live streamed on the internet. His claim is demonstrably true, with many of the resurfaced tweets dating back before 2023. But for now, it seems that he was able to talk his way out of it. In a weird way, I kind of respect Ian Miles Chong for his grit. He has been so shameless and over the top with his changes in viewpoint that it's almost comical. And in conclusion, I just can't wait to see what his political opinions will be in 5 years from now.
All the realm can withstand its power!
I may gaze with wonder and awe at the depths and heights of our psychic nature. Its non-spatial universe conceals an untold abundance of images which have accumulated over millions of years of living development and become fixed in the organism. And these images are
we
not...
done with Ian Miles Chong? Aw. Let's see what we're gonna put on now. Sounds interesting.
So, thank you to Hamilton Morris for giving me the title of this podcast episode. Andrew Gallimore is building a DMT machine to connect us to the alien worlds.
Kind of. That's kind of true. Yeah. I'm not building it, but
that's beautifully stated.
Yeah.
So, thanks for coming, first of all. Thanks for bringing your books. Beautifully designed books.
Thank you very much.
What do you do? And how did you get into this world of psychedelics and doing what you do now and studying these extended stay DMT trips?
It's a long story, Denny.
I'm ready. I got at least 6 hours.
Well, I mean, how far do you want to go back? I mean, when I was really young, like primary school age, I don't know what grade that is, but like 7, 8 years old, really young, I was interested in ghosts, vampires, werewolves, the unholy trinity, we should call it. Weird things, weird experiences, much to my parents' concern at the time, because I was kind of too young to be interested in dark.
I think I've done some of the secret
kind of
bosses,
things.
I'm not sure.
But as I grew and got into my teenage years and started thinking about my future, that kind of morphed.
This guy sucks.
Into an interest in
Honestly, one of the worst bosses I've ever played in a video game. Poorly designed on so many different fronts.
A friend had been talking about psychedelics for a while. This was before I'd ever had any actual experience. Something about stories that I'd heard about psychedelics kind of appealed to me. And I remember a friend brought me this magazine to school. This Terence McKenna interview on the back page.
Like, what's going on with the camera?
He's describing his favorite drug. Something called D.
And then that move. Like, he telegraphs it for maybe a millisecond.
Oh my god. This sounds incredible. He's incredible. You know, he's characteristically kind of baroque oratory on DMT is inimitable, really. Okay, this is a fascinating. I didn't know what DMT meant. I didn't know what it was. I didn't know what DMT stood for. Go to the library and look up what DMT meant. We got completely the wrong answer from this book of acronyms or something. But I knew from this point that I wanted to study psychedelics in some way. I was maybe 16 years old. So I thought, okay, I need to study pharmacology.
Which item?
So I went to university and studied chemistry, pharmacology.
Is it an item that prevents that dumb BS from happening? Alright, I'll check after this. Go at him.
And it all kind of developed from there. And
How come it's not doing my thing?
wasn't
Oh, now
until
it does
maybe
it.
15 years ago that I
Jesus,
started
come
really
on.
thinking seriously
That's horse shit.
DMT. Because that, as my scientific understanding of drugs and pharmacology and the whole interface with the human brain kind of matured, I started to realize that DMT was truly something remarkable.
Let's see, Ross.
That it wasn't just any old psychedelic. It was something much more profound, if you like. And but even then, it wasn't until I actually experienced
it's
DMT
not letting
for
me
myself.
equip anything there.
And by this time, I had the best part of a decade of Terence McKenna lectures and his books under my belt. You know, I'd heard all the stories.
Wow, so you were deep into this before you ever experienced it personally.
Exactly. And I thought because of that, that I'm prepared.
I stumbled onto this
thought,
boss.
okay, I know what I'm going to see. I know what it's going to feel like.
We got some frogs in the chat. There we go.
I know what kind of
We got some
experience
frogs in the chat.
But I was completely unprepared. It shocked me to my very bones when I first experienced DMT. And it wasn't even a breakthrough experience. This was sub breakthrough. And yet I was confronted with this undeniable, immense intelligence, this inordinate complexity, this hyperdimensionality, this thing was far, far more than I could possibly have imagined. And I remember lying on my bed, coming back from this experience, kind of reconstructing my human self. And just all I could say was, oh my God. Oh my God.
Yeah, I guess so. I got some other places, like some other checkpoints, like found and stuff like that.
Ontological assumptions about what is and isn't possible had been uprooted, had been lifted. And so that was the moment when I really thought, okay, I'm going to devote my life to this technology, as I prefer to think of it, rather than just a drug molecule. I think of it as a technology. Since then, I've been evangelizing, thinking about DMT.
How did we first discover DMT?
So, well, I mean, DMT has a history of use in humans that goes back thousands of years in traditional preparation. So, ayahuasca, the snuffs, cahoba snuffs, and yopo.
Nietzsche knows, man.
This goes back.
Oh, come on, I dodged that.
Actually, the first time that Western world.
Meanwhile, you want to become monkey, but you got to finish this Elden Ring
when
DLC.
The psychedelic properties
Final
of
boss of
DMT,
the area, so I
the
can hop
molecule,
around elsewhere and come back.
were first
Where
discovered.
do I go, Ross? That's
that was
a real
back
question.
in 1956, I think. So this Hungarian physician, Stephen Zara, he was, you know, at the time,
remember the places
this
where
was
I'm
not
supposed to
long
go?
after Hoffman had discovered LSD, of course. So psychiatry at the time was becoming increasingly interested in psychedelics and their potential for studying consciousness, for studying the human mind.
Like, I wish this game had a frickin' map, dude.
Disorders of consciousness.
How does this game not have a
schizophrenia.
map?
And so Stephen Zara, he became interested in psychedelics, and he tried initially to get hold of some LSD. He failed. He was behind the iron curtain at the time. So he got some mescaline instead, which he had a wonderful experience on Christmas Day. But then he turned his attention to these cahoba snuffs, used by indigenous tribes in Amazonia. And there had been some previous research on these snuffs, which...
What is a snuff?
What is a snuff? So it's like a... so the cahoba snuff...
Why is my nose
is a
itching so much
up-
right now?
Ground up seeds, roasted seeds of this plant that contain a mixture of different tryptamines, but in particular bufotenine and 5-methoxy-DMT and also DMT. And the studies at the time had come to the conclusion, erroneously in my opinion, and in the opinion of Stephen Zara, that bufotenine was the major hallucinogenic or psychedelic component of these snuffs. So yeah, the snuff, to kind of go back to your question, the snuff it's ground to a fine powder and then forcefully. So you have this fine powder, very, very fine, a bit like, rapé. Okay, so there's a powdered tobacco snuff. The seed is finely ground up and then placed into a long tube, maybe a yard long. Wow. Yeah, and there can be up to a teaspoon, I've read in certain reports of this. It's laid out in this tube. One person on one mouth, the other person puts the tube up their nostril. Forcefully blows this into your skull. I mean, it sounds like an appalling experience. I'm sure it was extremely painful. The eyes start running and mucus starts flowing from the nostrils. It's blood, it's not nice. Certainly more than some psychedelics than that. I don't recommend it by any stretch of the imagination. But these have been used for hundreds of years.
Let's open up a boss location guide because there are a ton that are hidden.
So the studies of the snuff that have been done.
But I kind of feel like kicking this guy's ass without any of that.
Isolated bufotenine.
Kill him with a handicap,
what they
so
actually
therefore I
did is they
become
took
the
this
true
bufotenine and they injected it into a group of inmates at the Ohio State Penitentiary, I believe it was.
I'm already
and
like
tested
too
the effects, and they
invested
went purple and
to
felt
pull away.
nauseous, and their blood pressure shot through the roof, and it wasn't, there was some kind of imagery that they saw, geometric visions, that kind of thing. But it wasn't convincing to Stephen Zara that this was the conduit of the gods. This was how they communicated with the gods. It just didn't seem that psychedelic. So he turned his attention to the other component that had been isolated, dimethyltryptamine. Bufotenine is 5-hydroxy dimethyltryptamine, a different molecule.
Okay. Is that the one where people talk about like being inside the sun when they're in there and it goes white?
That's 5-methoxy.
Oh, okay.
Dimethyltryptamine. Got an extra carbon. But they're closely related. So Stephen Zara, he synthesized. He's also an organic chemist as well as a physician. He synthesized the DMT, and he started swallowing it in increasing doses. Now we know now that DMT is not orally active on its own, so nothing was happening. He went up. He started very low dose, few milligrams, increased. In the end, he was swallowing like a gram of this stuff, and just nothing was happening. So he thought, okay, maybe I'm just way off here. I'm on the wrong track. I was wrong. But then a colleague said to him, have you thought about injecting it? So he injected it into a cat, first of all.
Whoa, injecting DMT into
I don't know what
cat?
happened or what the cat said, what kind of trip report you got from the cat, but probably not much. So he decided then to inject it on himself, intramuscular injection, and that was it. He, instantaneously, just a couple of minutes of the injection, he started seeing beautiful, complex, rapidly altering scenes in front of him. So he was having the world's first pure DMT trip, sometime in April 1956. Wow. Yeah, and so he got straight to work. He got some volunteers from the hospital, nurses and doctors and stuff from the hospital where he worked, and began the world's first DMT human study. And the rest is history.
When did we first discover that our brain produces DMT? And can you explain how our current perceptual model of the world works and what DMT has to do with that?
Yeah, so, I've never been that convinced by the idea that Rick Strassman particularly proposed that low levels of endogenous DMT were responsible somehow for the way that we experience reality. I've never been particularly convinced by that. So DMT levels. So DMT is very closely related to serotonin. which is, of course, an endogenous neuromotivator. And it's not that difficult to kind of divert the metabolism from...
Wait, what? I was so
serotonin
far away from
starts
that.
from tryptophan, which is then converted to tryptamine. Then you hydroxylate and you get 5-hydroxytryptamine, which is serotonin. You could also go in a slightly different direction.
Tickling
and go
the
from
front of my
tryptamine to dimethyltryptamine. So it's very easy, in other words, to make DMT. And so way back in, beginning in the 1950s, scientists, psychiatrists were already thinking maybe there is some aberrant metabolism in certain people where they produce more DMT than normal, and this is responsible for schizophrenia.
Dude, yeah, hard-boiled,
So this was referred to as the transmethylation hypothesis of schizophrenia. So straight away they were looking for DMT in schizophrenics. So measuring DMT in their urine, in their blood, trying to find a consistent, significant difference between DMT levels in schizophrenics versus normal people.
How hard is that to do, to measure the DMT in somebody's blood?
It's not difficult to do, but it turned out to be difficult to find any significant relationship. And this hypothesis has kind of fallen out of favor now. There aren't really any psychiatrists who take seriously the idea that schizophrenia is caused by an excess of DMT. And it doesn't make sense, to me at least, in terms of the phenomenology. The DMT trip is not the same as the schizophrenic experience. So it just doesn't make any sense to me that the DMT is responsible.
Keep on forgetting that. Usually I can't finish that combo. That stuns
the results they were looking for. So in terms of what DMT does, we kind of need to get back to, as you said, your model of reality that your brain constructs. So the world that you experience in normal waking life, the world you experience when you're dreaming, and even the world that you experience under the influence of DMT is always constructed by the brain. This is absolutely fundamental. It's something that I repeat and I repeat and I repeat because the problem we have with DMT is the questions about it are poorly constructed. So people will say, "Oh, is it real, or is it all in your head?" We've all heard that phrase. "Oh, it was all in your head."
Right.
But all experiences are, in a sense, all in your head. They're always being constructed by your brain. Your brain constructs your world model. Your brain, I like to say, is a world-building machine, right? It constructs your world model from patterns of neural activity.
Train your mind.
Patterns of a unified pattern of information,
plus back attack,
basically.
Crit, tackle,
now,
kill.
that applies under all circumstances.
Back attack, critical.
It applies
like
in dreaming, as I said. It applies in DMT. So when you take DMT, your brain is constructing a different world model. It's constructing a different model of reality. Now, in the normal waking state, this world model is constrained, it's modulated by a constant trickle of sensory information from that thing outside that we call the environment, that we never have direct access to. It's a liminal space. It's not something we can directly access. So the world that you're experiencing now is this model. It looks like you're experiencing the outside world, but actually it's all internally constructed within this light, sealed, this black, dark space within where your brain is.
Right. The place people go when they do these things, whether it be DMT or psilocybin or anything, is it things that are already there, like invisible, that are just becoming apparent? Or is it just the mind like turning inside out on itself?
Okay, so this is the central question that I've been wrestling with for the last 20 or so years, right? we don't know the answer to that question, but there are a number of explanations for the DMT experience. First of all, when you smoke DMT, when you take any psychedelic, it's the world model that changes. What psychedelics are doing is they are interacting with certain receptors in deep layers of the cortex. The cortex is the outer layer of the brain that constructs your world model. And the classic psychedelics, so that's DMT, LSD, psilocin from psilocybin, they interact with these receptors and they perturb the world-building machine. They allow your brain to construct a different model. So the model changes, the structure and the dynamics of the model changes. Now, with a low dose of something like psilocybin mushrooms, the effect can be relatively subtle. You get kind of an altered model of the normal waking world. It's more fluid, it's more dynamic, it's more sensitive to incoming sensory information in that state. But with DMT, something quite different happens. Terence McKenna used to call it a 100% reality channel switch. Your brain doesn't, it's not just an altered version of the normal waking world, but it's a completely different model of reality. It's like switching the reality channel.
I thought
the question
Mikey was telling me how to play this game.
And it's a really
so
difficult
level 180
question
and some
to answer.
critical animation with some new webs you've been using since
the kind of the
DLC.
orthodox explanation for this is, it's your brain is just making it up. It's a wild cortical fabrication. But that's never made much sense to me, because we know
playing video games while you have an itch slash tickle in your
brain,
nose
the brain wasn't dropped to Earth ready to kind of construct worlds. The brain evolved to construct the normal waking world, the model of the universe. This is the world your brain knows, has learned, has evolved to construct. Knows how to construct one world model, right?
I don't know. I think it's like a nose hair gone
then
wrong.
You ask the question, well, how is it then possible that when you perturb the brain with this simple plant alkaloid, it suddenly becomes capable of constructing entirely coherent, inordinately complex, hyperdimensional worlds filled with seemingly hyper-intelligent beings? Where did it learn or evolve to construct these realities? It's confounding to me even from a neuroscientific perspective. It's like, imagine a young American child who only speaks English, a 5-year-old or something, suddenly wakes up and starts speaking fluent Siberian Yupik or some South African click language. It would be shocking. Like, where did he learn to speak this? It's like, it's similar. It's similarly confounding to me that the brain knows how to construct these bizarre alternate realities that have no relationship whatsoever to the normal waking world. Nothing was taken from our world and brought into. It's a completely disjoint reality. And that is, to me, remains a great mystery, unless somehow the brain is receiving information from somewhere else that's kind of constraining and modulating and informing its construction of this alternate world model. That is why it's such a problem, in my opinion, to explain DMT.
Where could that somewhere else be?
Yeah. We don't have a clue where this other space could be, and this is kind of what I sometimes refer to as the data input problem. So the normal waking world, as I said before, it's always receiving information from the environment. We understand how that works. We understand the stimulation, visual information, the stimulation of the retina. We understand how sound information works. We understand how information gets into the brain to help the brain construct the normal waking world. Right. So this data input problem as well, if this DMT world is being modulated by information from elsewhere, where is this elsewhere? That we don't understand.
Might not be within the constraints of space-time.
Exactly. And this is where
Why
we're
is
getting to
dude?
later.
I hit the
Start
heal
to
button
think
and it
about,
didn't. That is so annoying.
Where these other domains might be.
Another thing
and the
about
kind
this
of
game, dude. Why don't the inputs
relationship,
work?
between our reality and these other
Why don't
domains,
the
and
inputs
particularly
work?
the intelligences that we see within these other domains, which are
kicking
often
his ass.
way beyond anything in this we can imagine in this universe.
Now, everybody, when they do DMT, they always experience the same thing. They always experience these extreme geometrical patterns, and they all experience these so-called elves that are dancing around telling them things, like giving them positive messages that are transformative in some aspect or another.
Husband Gold is wrong, dude. I enjoy Stellar Blade more than I enjoy this game.
Is this pretty much consistent through everyone?
I'll pick TNA over Monkey any day.
How much deviation or variation is there?
What a rhyme, so it's even
from
more true.
all the people that you've actually studied or talked to that experience DMT?
So everyone's experience is, in some sense, different. Everyone has to construct their own model of DMT space, right? We all construct our own model of the world. Everyone's model of the world is in some way different, yet there's a certain consensus about what's what. I can never get access into your brain and look at your model and see if it maps to mine.
I think about that all the time. I think about like I'm looking at you right now and I see this room, and if I walk outside I know like what the trees look like and what the cars in the parking lot look like, but I always wonder like through how would you know, looking through somebody else's eyes, if they're seeing the same thing? We use the same language to describe these things. The language is the same, but we have no fucking clue.
Now you love it?
How similar or dissimilar
Now you
it
love
really
it, Ross?
is.
Yeah, I mean, this is why we refer to it as a consensus reality, because there is some consensus there. But I don't know if when you look at the color green, what that looks like to you is the same to me. But it doesn't, because I have a very mild form of color deficiency, mild form of red-green color blindness. So my reds look different to your reds, but we agree that they're reds. And you can apply this, of course. I mean, we don't even know, if I was to be able to look through your eyes, whether even that world that I saw would make any sense. That's kind of wild, right? It might be completely confusing, bizarre.
Right.
You make sense of it. Your brain has learned to construct that model of reality.
Some people go through most of their lives
Nonsense!
not being able to see three-dimensional, and they don't even know it.
Right. I mean, you can get some. I mean, one way we know that your brain is constructing and how your brain constructs your model of reality is when things go wrong. So there's a certain part of the visual cortex, for example, that's responsible for your experience of motion, that gives motion to objects in the world. If you have this rare condition called akinetopsia, where there's damage to a very specific area of that cortex that's responsible
Game of the year
for
so far, huh?
motion information. They see the world as a series of still images. Now I can't imagine what that's like.
I don't know, man.
But
So
I really
far,
can't.
Stellar Blade has the
that's how they
slight
see
edge
the world.
over
And similarly,
this.
achromatopsia.
No
is
pun
when
intended.
The color in part of the brain that represents
just because
color
it feels
information
satisfying.
is
It's a little more. The combat's a little more
damaged, and the world
satisfying.
becomes black and white. To these people, right?
I would say that the story in this is 3,000 times better.
Like something around 95% of the neurons in our brain are dedicated to vision.
I also like the level,
an absurd amount of the
aesthetics of the
in our
level
brain are dedicated solely to vision
as well.
Right, we are a visual species. We rely on visual information more than any other information. I mean, imagine looking at the room now and trying to describe it in such detail using words, using sound, such that somebody could reproduce the room to photographic precision. You right. Imagine that, right? But clearly there's a lot of information. There's so much information that we have in our visual world. And all of that information is represented by this unified pattern of neural information in the brain. Yeah. But getting back to the entities, right? Yeah. So to answer your question about do people see the same things, everyone's experience.
Why
is
isn't it not
certainly
healing?
different,
Jesus,
but
I pressed it 3 times over there before it started
universal
healing.
DMT motifs, if you like, that many people describe. The structure, the ambience of the space, the geometry, and also, of course, the beings within the space, the so-called DMT entities. And this goes back, I mean, of course it goes back to these indigenous tribes in Amazon really using DMT. They used it to communicate with beings. They call them spirits or gods, right? We might have a different name for them now, but certainly it was clear that this is a characteristic feature of the DMT experience is the experience of other beings. And Stephen Zara, so you mentioned these elves, right? Terence McKenna, the elves, the machine elves, Terence McKenna called them, they're by far the most famous denizens of these hyperdimensional realms. There's no doubt about that. And many people like to say, well, people see elves because McKenna saw elves, and McKenna spoke about elves, so that's why you're seeing elves.
Is that balance mode?
It's like, it's hard to get past that. So what we did actually a few years back is to go back to the original trip reports. Let's go back to the 1950s. Look at the trip reports there. Stephen Zara's very first study. Now, unfortunately, back then they weren't that interested in the kind of the details of the trip report. This is not like Rick Strassman's study in the 90s, where he carefully had them write down everything.
Like, I hate how he gets behind that. Like, what the hell? And then you can't even see what he does?
Even within these old papers, you get these little snippets of trip reports that had back then the characteristic DMT flavors. They were describing.
I did that and like did no damage on him. So I was like, no, never again.
Geometric imagery.
And it takes away like all of your magic.
That they called gods, language of the time, or they would call them spirits. That was the lexicon of the time, if you like. You see some kind of non-human intelligence, and you refer to it as a spirit.
Dude, to be honest, Ross, I don't even know what the story was in Stellar Blade.
One of Stephen Zara's first subjects described these little dwarf-like beings.
Only thing, the story in Stellar
quickly.
Blade was tits and ass. That was the story.
This is part of the characteristic of these DMT elves, these very sprightly, lively beings, often very cheerful.
Oh, really?
Welcome you into the space.
I'll keep that in mind.
They love to show you things all the time. Look at this. Look at this. Look at this. They were there in the first trip reports, and then through the 60s and on, with people like Timothy Leary describing elf-like beings and insectoid-like beings and reptilians. There are certain types of reptilians, and they can be ferocious. In Rick Strassman's study, some of the subjects described being, how should we say, raped by reptilians. Yeah.
Bad beings in there? Pardon this brief interruption, but I want to take a second to talk about our sponsor, Verso. Now, if you've heard this podcast before, chances are you already know how obsessed I am with health and longevity, which is why one of my favorite guests to have on the show is nutritional scientist and neuroscientist Dr. Dom D'Agostino, who actually introduced me to this stuff. Verso is a company that is dedicated to translating scientific breakthroughs into products that hold the potential to increase longevity. The problem with aging is we accumulate these zombie cells, or old damaged cells, that linger beyond their useful life. These zombie cells infect other healthy cells, speeding up the aging process, causing things like hair loss, wrinkles, arthritis, cancer, dementia, and everything in the realm of aging. What scientists have realized is that we can manually induce autophagy, meaning the cleanup process of the old zombie cells and replacing them with new ones. Verso's new Clean Being, which I take every night, is a powerful blend of senolytic molecules that help promote the body's natural cleanup processes like autophagy and apoptosis, promoting better cellular health, supporting lower inflammation and natural cardioprotective functions, while boosting protection against age-related diseases. The three main ingredients in Clean Being are spermidine, luteolin, and dihydroquercetin. which play key roles in the control of gene expression and are essential for cell growth and proliferation, specifically when it comes to cardiovascular and cognitive function, skin health, vision, and the immune system. Head on over to ver.so and use the coupon code CONCRETE at checkout to save 15% on your order. I linked it all below. Now back to the show.
Yeah, fortunately, before anyone has become totally frightened by DMT, the vast majority of entity encounters are either positive or neutral. Often
the majority.
We're talking like 90%. Yeah.
But what about that 10%? What's going on with those guys?
Well, I mean, they vary as much in their character as they do their. We wouldn't predict this with all beings of love and light, and that's to be expected, right? And the same on Earth. Not everyone's nice. Most people are nice, right? Some, yes. or kind of neutral. And this is the same in the DMT space. They often seem to be aware of their the large gap between their intelligence and what. I mean, this is their world, after all, that we're kind of entering, if you like. And they like to kind of have fun, sometimes. So there's a lot of kind of mocking going on sometimes, teasing, right? Kind of trickstery kind of behavior with these entities. They like to scare you. So you have to be kind of aware of that, but there's no evidence that they can actually do you any harm.
The wrong order of it.
It's a scare.
Has anyone ever been harmed by DMT? I mean, other than like abuse? Because I know personally people who, during their young age, like through high school and through college, that abuse psychedelics like LSD or mushrooms. They've been off ever since. Or like they never really cognitively recovered from that.
Damn, that did a lot.
You don't. Well, I mean, the problem with these longer-acting psychedelics is that you've got a much better chance to get yourself into a bad headspace, right?
Oh, dude, I didn't realize I was so.
To freak out, to become anxious or panic, and that can last a long time.
Come on.
So I think there's a greater potential for to get yourself in some really bad places with psychedelics, which is why
they last like hours and hours.
Exactly. With DMT, for most people, it's shocking, it's astonishing. I mean, Terence McKenna used to say the only danger of DMT is death by astonishment. Right. These are shockingly astonishing. Choose your superlative. I mean, these are so bizarre and profound and strange and impossible experiences that the real danger, I think, or the real risk is that everything you thought was true, everything you thought you knew about reality is about to be obliterated. You're going to come back and realize that you knew fucking nothing, that everything you thought was real or not real or possible or impossible. It's gone. It's gone. And there's no coming back from that. So you will be fundamentally changed.
I would like an opportunity to hit him, please.
So you have to be prepared for that. But for me, I was euphoric at that point. I hadn't seen this, realized. But for some people, if you have a particular ideological position about humans and our relationship to the cosmos, then you're in for a bit of a surprise, my friend.
I can't even see where the battlefield is,
to say the least. But for most people, it's so rapid. It's like being on a roller coaster. You're screaming, you're scared, but it's wild.
Didn't grant me that,
but you don't get a chance to mull it over. You don't get a chance to think about the implications of it at the time. Only after, yeah. So by the time you kind of oriented yourself, if that's impossible within the space, you're already kind of on your way out. Then you can think about what just happened. And for most people, they actually forget a lot of the details. They come out ranting and raving. Oh my God, this happened, and then it's like a dream that kind of just fades away and you can't remember details. So you know, for most people, there's no lasting, certainly not psychological damage.
No, like, I've always been worried about, like, you know, I never tried hardcore psychedelics. Like, I never went past weed or, like, edibles. But I've done edibles and had some pretty trippy experiences. Like, whenever anyone describes mushrooms to me, when I do an edible, that's what I experience. Like, it's wild. And I'm a hyper responder when it comes to any drugs. So any drugs I do, whether it be medications or, like, drugs, it just takes a little bit for me, and I have a crazy reaction. Like, it
Jesus,
takes me
you're
I
dead!
take one pull of a joint, and I'm singing. When it takes, like, you know, my friends or anyone else, anyone else I know who's with me, they have to smoke the whole joint. But for me, it's only one pull.
Yeah.
So, like, I've always been super scared of diving into that world. And then on top of that, when I was little, when I was young, I heard a story. I don't remember where I heard it, but I heard a story about.
My heart is beating. Oh man, I need to check my DMs on Instagram, dude. I'll check them real soon, Mikey. Sorry about that. I haven't seen anything. I haven't seen anything, Mikey. I'll check it. I'll check it though. Look at all that mayo. That breedable mayo.
Amitabha. I am Bodhisattva Lingji.
That would be really funny, actually. Is there any way to do that?
The warden of this rat. After the great sage's passing, his sixth senses
I tried the pluck beforehand, but it just sucked the first time, so I was like, screw this thing.
Hindered by his meager might, he could not absorb its power. Thus he schemed with wicked intent. A victim of his deceit, I had my head taken by him. The sense requires such a grand container to release its power. I should bear the blame for his reign of havoc upon this ridge again. Through your valor and sagacity, order has been restored. You are the sole worthy one to keep it. Please, keep it secure in my stead.
No, not DMT, it's homeopathic remedies. This is the first homeopathic remedy that has worked for me. Alright, so I'm going to continue with Chapter 2 and just do some more cleanup here. Worked on not making me feel miserable anymore. It's like an antidepressant without the depressants. Without the pharmaceutical stuff. Well, this one is called, you can't really see the label up close, but it's ayahuasca sea salt rose. The homeopathic doctor sent it to me after, like, you know, she gave it specifically for me. And I have another one called Thymus Forget-Me-Not Butterfly. I don't know what that does, but they work, which is the most important thing. Was that like a nude claymation thing? That's tight. She preggers. Music's pretty cool here. course things have to take a dark turn. It was too nice, it was too happy, it was too wholesome. Is that some yokai, aka yogwai in Chinese? Oh no, it's like a kitsune or something. No, you're not gonna do it. You better not do it, dude. That thing is beautiful and innocent. I can suggest you the doctor. She lives in the UK, but she listens to you. Does a consultation fee and then sends you what you need.
Yaoguais. Each of them bears a distinct root from birth, superior and inferior. None should disturb what's decided. Am I right?
Right.
Sun Wukong?
With the wind and sand you've endured here, did you reach the forgotten kingdom at the end of the land? Did you find the clash of stones and the fall of Tiger's acolyte? If you shut your ears and heed only your inner murmur, I fear the more you yearn for flawless endings, the further you'll stray from the path. Rats and cats, neither grasped their destiny, and yet neither admitted it. Listen closely, young one. Their complaints ride upon the wind.
So there are 5 chapters in this game. You only get 1 spark for killing that guy. It's pretty ridiculous. I'm gonna go back to the last chapter. It's a very sentient baby. Is that Baby Buddha? Baby Buddha. This game needs a map. I'm sorry. This game definitely needs a map. What should I get next? Got to. Ooh, that's good. Both of those are really good. Need some refined iron sand and some more will. Okay, okay. Cold iron leaves, huh? Okay. Let's look up this boss guide.
Real quick, let's
Hey guys, Adam Hart here. Blood.
I'm gonna do this without. Beat the Earth Wolf. Beat that guy. Fuck that guy. Press flat. There we go. Now. Are you? Poison? Oh, you're up there. Oh, it's just down here. Did I miss it? That looks like something worth taking a look at. Oh. Dude, this is like the worst place to fight something like this. Done here? No. We're not. Anybody else? Buddha's eyeball. Sugoi. Buddha's eyeball. Knew it. I knew it. Alright, dodge that thing and still got poisoned. Got it, man.
Oi, God, come here. Some bastard has got me trapped in this rock with his spell. Even the rocks on the ridge have come to life. In that cave, there's a rock guy lurking. Holdings. Should you uncover the reason, I shall find my way out. Rocks turning wine. It's no small matter. In that cave, there's a rock. Should you uncover the rocks turning?
Oh my God!
No small matter.
Which cave is he even talking about, dude? In that cave. It's not like we have a map you could point out which cave it's at. I've had about enough of these guys. Let's try to open that, being that I'm in mid-battle. Oh, it didn't let me roll. Whatever. What do you know? Oh my God. Still popping out. feel like he should be here. That should have been an invitation spot. I don't know if that was scripted or not, but that was kind of perfect. It's timing. So I've been here before. Name. I don't feel like fighting this guy. Screw you. I have no recollection of coming here. But apparently I've been here. Maybe. Is that just a shortcut? where the boss is? There. Let's try finding this thing again. Oh. Must have missed that. Okay. Why did I get poisoned? That's lame, dude. No, I'm going back. Fighting a boss. I'm poisoned. Poisoned, dude. Second, it's not here. Oh yeah, there is. Oh, come on. Mother of stones. I couldn't even see what was going on there. It's another issue with this game is the camera. It goofs up more times than I can count on my fingers and toes. I rolled, but okay. Took 3 hours to do my sippy cup. That's okay. Yeah, it's all in the game, I suppose. Really tough for some reason. Bum 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 ba-dum bum bum bum. Wow 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 wow. Dude. I hate how it doesn't let me roll sometimes. Unresponsive ass game. I feel like these guys should not be nearly as strong as they are, but they are, so. Guy's got more flame in him, okay. A little buffed up, more so than usual. Like, the camera sucks. Wow. Complete garbage. Got some sparks out of that. Okay, so it's not really a boss as much as just a shrine whose goobers protect. Oh my god. Where to next? Is it awoken? Squall hideout.
Some bastard has got me.
This way? Just aggro on this guy for no good reason. What the fuck is this guy, dude?
I finally got my hands on the treasure!
Oh, you cracked me skull!
Cracked me skull!
Oh, mercy! Mercy! Mercy!
You expecting another treasure, are you? You wicked twerp. But I can't be handing it over to you for free. Come back later to trade with Will. Easy there. I'll need a... trapped on this rock.
This one already. Check, it's pretty close by. Zaputa's eyeball 5, huh? Six. You are Lord Mikey, breaker of Elden Lords. I did not mean to do that. How many Buddha eyes do we have? So I'm missing one. So we want five. We got this fourth one. Oh my god, I hate this game. These stupid jump skills. So people tail off, you know? I hate this game, dude. What the hell? That is so lame. Gotta kill this guy on principle now. What was a new Yogwai? Why'd my portraits get updated? I'm pretty sure I've killed that guy like 3,000 times before. Press flat. It's gonna be annoying. We'll find out in a second. I hate this game. Giant turd. A turd hole, if you will. Huh? Duly noted. Duly noted. Gotta do this again. come on! Bull. Side note, I have sold anything all DLC because forgot. Wait, you haven't sold anything? Or you have? Just sold over 100k. Oh, you're about to be leveling up, Mikey. I always get hit by that first attack. Here's the second attack too. Alright, this is not a good take. That didn't even hit me, dude. What the hell? You did that. I mean, that was more likely to have hit me, but it didn't. Well, the other ones did. I don't understand. Course. 187 now, but you're just a bit for a single web swap. That's broken, of course, because it's physical and fire damage, but I can buff it with blood flame. Blood flame on, buddy. You are the human blood flame torch. You will destroy all those in your path. That's nice, sweetie. You go home and rest now. Rebirth just to move 5 more points into endurance to lightweight. The knight armor with colossal sword. I'm assuming that means that you're just way OP beyond belief at this point. Let's see what we do next here.
I'm here, little monkey. Let me hear my rattle drum. I was here. Down and play with us.
Dares bear our father's time.
Tell my brother real quick. Mikey, I might be diving soon if you want to join. If you want to join in on the diving. I know you're enjoying destroying Elden Ring, just completely destroying that game and everything that it stands for. But we got Super Earth to protect, you know? Oh, I missed this last one. Maybe not. Yeah, let's call it with this game for. Oh, 1 second. Using gourd, next rock solid, cost no mana for short duration. I don't know what that means, but that's cool. We got 2 trophies today. This game. Alright, let's do some Helldivers.
다이지나ものに気づけた